105 FM, where the pros play. Brandon Medina and Michael Jimenez are the Fantasy Guys. Brought to you by RDK Advisors.
San Antonio, the Fantasy Gods are live. The church is open. Welcome one, welcome all. Beautiful Sunday. I am Brandon Big Poppy Medina. That's Michael Jimenez. How are we doing, my man?
Oh, baby, I'm doing fantastic. And dearly beloved, we are gathered here to celebrate this thing called fantasy football. It's time for week 2, baby. I'm ready.
That is right. Week 2 is upon us. In just a little bit under an hour, we will be watching some great football. Now, let's talk a little bit, though, about injury updates. We want to make sure we get everybody caught up on the injuries, the ins and outs. Michael, we saw some big-name injuries still playing a part, still happening, still lingering from week 1, and some new ones as well after week 1. Let's talk about those injuries that are out for today.
Oh, the outs. The outs are like, it's like a Pro Bowl team over here. I mean, listen to these names. Michael Thomas, possibly the number 1 receiver to go off the board in fantasy football. Michael Thomas is out, and he's going to be out for a while. Chris Godwin of Tampa Bay, Kenny Golladay, back-to-back weeks where he's out for the Detroit Lions. George Kittle, tight end extraordinaire, top tight end in the league possibly. He is out. A.J. Brown of Tennessee is out. Jamison Crowder, Alshon Jeffrey, and then for a running back, Phillip Lindsay, out for a second week.
Yeah, and then you look at people who are in this week. You have Courtland Sutton finally making his debut. That's going to be a huge one. You do have people that are nervous when it comes to playing either Scotty Miller because of Chris Godwin. I think Scotty Miller is a great person to play right now. In week 2, you also have Mohamed Sanu, Brandon Ayuk for the 49ers. So if you're looking for those flyers at wide receiver or even for DFS play, which we'll get into later on, I think those are some names to look at. Kenny Golladay is still out. So look for Marvin Jones possibly. I know last week it wasn't it. Maybe this week's the big week.
Yeah. You mentioned Brandon Ayuk. I have him in daily fantasy this week. I'm a big fan. People were talking about Ayuk being the number 1 receiver for San Francisco this year. He missed the first game. He is now in the lineup today. Rob Thompson asked the question there about a flex. If you're really looking for a flyer, Brandon Ayuk might be a good one there.
Yeah, I like Brandon Ayuk. I also, again, Scotty Miller's my number 1 flyer this week. I have him in every daily fantasy lineup. I have him in my personal ones. If I'm stretched a little thin for wide receivers or a flex option, Scotty Miller's going to get looks. If not Scotty Miller, I would look for a Russell Gage. You want a deep flyer, look for N'Keal Harry if he's still there. And then also, I think somebody that you should be targeting, if not today, there is no other day. This is the day to do it. Is a man named Adam Humphries. We know A.J. Brown is dealing with some injuries. Corey Davis might be dealing with an injury himself. Yeah. I think Adam Humphries is going to rise out of the ashes like The Undertaker. And so I think Adam Humphries is your guy if you're looking for a really deep sleeper and maybe those 12-team, 14-team leagues, 10-team leagues. I think you can still target a Scotty Miller, N'Keal Harry, a Russell Gage, someone like that. But today's going to be a lot of flyers. There's a lot of injuries always after week 1, especially with no preseason. Is there anybody that maybe you're targeting personally for you, Mike?
Well, last week, especially when you come to like daily fantasy or maybe some backs that if you're in an 8 or a 10 team league, that's probably sitting there on the waiver wire. I kind of like some of the backs from New England, whether it be James White or Sony Michel. PPR league would be James White, but Sony Michel showed last week that he's going to be getting some touches, and last year going into the final, going into the playoffs and whatnot, they were utilizing him more, and it seems like Cam Newton has a little bit of a rapport with him. The New England backs are underrated, underappreciated. If they're out there, you need a quick flex. Those might be someone you'd look at.
Absolutely. And I know we have another question from my man Andrew Marks. We got a question about flex advice, Emmanuel Sanders or Alan Lazard. He has Nyheim Hines, but he's already starting Jonathan Taylor. I agree. He said he doesn't want to start both just in case the Vikings show up on defense. Now, when you look at this, the Vikings were dead last week defensively, but a lot of that was from passing from Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is going to be doing that to a lot of teams this year. Obviously, we've seen that he did not take much of a step back as we thought he was, Mike. But when you look at it, I truly believe Emmanuel Sanders might be a top 15, top 20 play this week. I think he is the guy to roll with. There is nobody there to fill that gap for Michael Thomas but Emmanuel Sanders. We've seen him be the one on other teams, and I think he's a strong flex consideration, even a wide receiver too, if you're really stretched in.
Oh, most definitely a wide receiver 3 if you have to play 3 as well. Sanders was somebody that I was going to mention later on in the show, but I mean, you think about it. He was a wide receiver 1 with Denver. He was a wide receiver 1 or 2 with San Francisco. He has a lot of respectability. You know what you're going to get from him. It's a new system for him. He was the prize free agent pickup on the offensive side for the Saints. Thomas not there. He is the most talented receiver on the field for the Saints. Now, is Breeze going to light it up for 350 yards? Well, he didn't last week, but if given the choice there, I'd roll the dice with Sanders.
Fair enough, fair enough. Now, with that being said, let's get into our first number 1 segment for the Fantasy Gods, and that is Blessed He Who Starts.
Blessed is he who starts.
That's right. Now, Michael, let's talk a little bit about our favorite starters of the week. Right off the bat, Michael, anybody you're looking at quarterback that maybe you think is going to be absolutely dominant this week?
Okay, blessed he who starts either Dak Prescott or Matt Ryan. They are playing each other. I'm on record for saying that I believe that these two are going to combine for 650 to 700 yards. They're going to combine for 6 touchdowns. So one of those two is going to break out, probably both of them. I don't trust the defenses for either of them. We saw what Matt Ryan could do last week. I mean, he threw up almost 400 yards there. We know what Dak Prescott's capable of. These are 2 very shoddy defenses. These are 2 really elite wide receiver cores. I think this game is going to be a track meet. I see a 41-31 game. Play your players if they play for either of those 2 teams.
Yeah, outside of the regular gimmies of Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, stuff like that, I like 2 guys in their respective matchups. I love Josh Allen and I love Kyler Murray. Josh Allen is going against Miami. We saw what Cam Newton did to them. Josh Allen runs just as well, if not better. I think he has a great receiving core there, definitely better than what the Patriots have outside of Edelman. So I truly believe for the Buffalo Bills, if you're looking for a quarterback, absolute must start, Josh Allen and Kyler Murray. If you're looking for a little bit of a deeper, I guess, fill-in person, I definitely think you can still ride the hot hand with either Ben Roethlisberger or Matt Stafford. Roethlisberger looked great, man. He did not look bad at all. So if he's there and you're stretched in and maybe you're nervous about playing anybody, like maybe you have Deshaun Watson. I know a lot of people are asking questions about Deshaun Watson. I love if you have a Cam Newton, if you have a Roethlisberger, if you have a Carson Wentz, a Matt Stafford. Those are guys you can plug in and absolutely get 16 to 20 points out of.
I'll buy stock in Ben Roethlisberger right now. I agree. Last week, he put up some really good numbers. He did appear rusty the first half, but that's to be expected. He hadn't played in forever. So, just think about it. 2 seasons ago, he threw up over 5,000 yards of passing. Roethlisberger is a fantasy god. If he is still out there, I know a lot of people were picking him up this week. If he's still out there or if you have him on your bench, you really need to take a look at him because you know that he can light up the scoreboard. I'm a big believer in Ben Roethlisberger this morning.
Yeah, and good morning to all of our listeners, all those comments. I know we got a question from Ricky Rodriguez. We got one that asks, Watson or Tannehill? This one I'm 100% going to Watson. I do not think Tannehill is going to be able to match up to the level that Deshaun Watson will give you. I know for me, a question I know we've been faced a lot with is Cam Newton and Deshaun Watson. We'll kind of get into that more in the next segment, if you will. However, for the starts of our week, the blessed he who starts, any running backs, Michael, that maybe are making your list of absolute must starts with the matchup?
Right now, anybody who starts for Indianapolis, whether that be Hines or they've got a 3-headed monster going on over there. So I like Nyheim Hines as a start, especially in PPR leagues right now.
Okay, fair enough. I think when it looks for me, when I look at my lineups and my personal ones, I think the must starts for me are going to be names that most people have as RB2s, and I firmly believe they're going to look really, really good. I think David Johnson can be a must start. We're looking at, his backup, Duke Johnson, is probably not going to play. So he's going to get a boatload of carries. I also think Austin Eckler, do not worry about happened last week. This week is going to be a new week. He had 19 touches. They're going to use him in the passing game. Austin Eckler is a must start. Please do not take him out of your lineups. And then last but not least for me, if there's ever a week to do it, ever at all, I think this is the week you can flex Antonio Gibson. I know he did not get the touches that we wanted last week. However, this is a defense in the Arizona Cardinals that absolutely will give up, some big runs. Will give up those pass down catches for running back points. If you're in a PPR league, Antonio Gibson's definitely in the flex conversation. He's not a must flex, but if you're stretched thin, you're thinking, who can I play? Who can maybe I can get some value out of? I think Antonio Gibson brings you some value this week.
Now, value in a standard league right now at a running back position, San Antonio's own Malcolm Brown. Okay, he tore up the Cowboys last week. He had 19 touches. Obviously, when the season started, we didn't know who was going to be the number one back for the Rams. We figured it was going to be running back by committee, and it pretty much is. But he got the most number of touches. He had over 60% of the touches last week out of that backfield. Malcolm Brown, man, he looks legit in that offense.
Yeah, and I mean, moving to wide receivers as well. I love me some Paris Campbell. I have a lot of stocks in Paris Campbell. He's going against my Minnesota Vikings, who did not look very good against the pass. He looked like one of Phillip Rivers' favorite targets. So Paris Campbell's one of my guys. I'm a big fan of Allen Robinson, especially going against the New York Giants. And I think for wide receivers, there's so much depth, but somebody I'm taking the flyer on, taking a chance on, is Marquise Hollywood Brown. He's one of the guys that I definitely think might be able to blow up today. I think he's somebody that can really make some moves against that Houston secondary. So Marquise Hollywood Brown is one of my guys as well. What about you, Mike? Anybody that you're targeting wide receivers? Blessed he who starts.
Well, last week I told people to take a flyer on Alan Lazard, and look, he blew up last week, and I'm going to go ahead and stick with it. I think he's a talented receiver. There's a lot of different people that are being targeted in Green Bay, so he's not going to get 10 or 12 receptions a week, but he'll get his 4 to 6, and usually they're deeper patterns than most. Man, Darius Slayton has really become a wide receiver one for the Giants. A lot of leagues he was not drafted, or he was drafted in very late rounds. That guy's an absolute stud. We mentioned Emmanuel Sanders as well. I'm keeping an eye on, probably in some waiver wires right now, Laviska Shenault from Jacksonville. I think he can really start tearing it up. He might not be that guy weeks 1, 2, 3, or 4, but let's keep an eye on him for the second part of the season.
Fair enough. Now, before we go, I know we had a couple questions from Michael Figueroa. We had Connor or Scott Miller. If you're talking James Conner, I'm absolutely staying away from that. I think Miller's going to be the play to go. I think he's going to be one of my starts of the week. And then we also have from Tanskely, we have a flex spot. Is it Mark Ingram or Traquan Smith? What do you think about that one? That one's an interesting one. Also, watching from San Marcos, Texas. Shout out to San Marcos. Thank you guys for watching. So whenever we're talking, got the Bobcats shirt on. Whenever we're talking Mark Ingram, Traquan Smith, anybody there that you're favoring over the other?
You know, Mark Ingram is the least sexy running back in all of fantasy football, but if it's a flex position, you just got to go with him. Now, I know last week he wasn't putting up the numbers that we would want, but I think that's kind of an aberration. I think it'll go back into the way that the team normally runs. So I would say Mark Ingram is your play.
Yeah, now listen, no doubt about it, this is going to be a split backfield. J.K. Dobbins will get his touches, but Mark Ingram is going to be the main primary guy, especially possibly for goal line touches. I think Traquan Smith is too touchdown independent. I think he's too dependent on the big TDs, the big long yardage plays, and I don't think he's going to get many of those. So with that, I'm going to go Mark Ingram. However, we do have to take a break, but we will get back with Blessed He Who, Thou Shall Bench, as well as our overreact reactions to week 1. And don't forget, we're talking betting, we're talking spreads, we're talking daily fantasy. All that is coming up and more, as well as our number 1 flyers of the week. You do not want to miss it. You're listening to ESPN San Antonio, 94.5 FM, 1250 AM, and on the go at ESPNSA.com.
The Fantasy Gods is sponsored by RDK Advisors. Are you a captive life insurance agent? Maybe you're a PNC agent wanting to write some life insurance business. Give RDK Advisors a call. Let us show you how to increase your life and annuity production. Build your contract, own your book, be independent, but don't do it alone. Call RDK Advisors at 210-508-0369 or visit rdkadvisors.com.
Do you ever wonder how long you could make it financially if your paycheck were to stop due to an accident or illness? Visit callclark.com, as you don't have to wonder. The loss of your income could be devastating to you and your family. You could lose your home, automobiles, and other essentials. Don't let this happen to you and your family. You can insure your paycheck for less than 2% of your income. Do yourself a favor and contact Clark Ross with Coordinated Financial Group and learn more. Go to callclark.com to learn how to protect your paycheck today. Once again, callclark.com.
Twin Peaks is your ultimate sports lodge with a menu to match. Pair any of our made-from-scratch menu items with a frosty 29-degree draft beer served by a beautiful Twin Peaks girl, and you're in for a legendary sports watching experience September. Well, it's National Bourbon Month. Celebrate with new bourbons you truly won't find anywhere else. We're so proud to offer rare bourbons from barrels hand-selected by our team. If you're searching for a hard-to-find unique bourbon, come grab one at Twin Peaks. Featuring Blanton's, Buffalo Trace, W.L. Weller, Full Proof. Twin Peaks eats, drinks, scenic views.
America's Diamond has created a half-hour television program called Buying Diamonds Intelligently. You can see where diamonds are mined, how they're cut and polished, how they're graded, certified, and laser inscribed, and how our beautiful diamond jewelry is made. You can see the show tonight on ABC KSAT 12 at 12:35 a.m. or right now on the internet at americasdiamond.com. America's Diamond is the largest diamond engagement ring store in America. We design and create our extraordinary jewelry right here in San Antonio. Quality for quality, we guarantee that the everyday America's Diamond price is lower than any jewelry store's very best sale price, or we'll refund the difference plus 25%. America's Diamond was voted San Antonio's best jewelry store by San Antonio Magazine, The Current Magazine, and for more than 25 years in a row, winner of the Express News Reader's Choice Award. America's Diamond is the official jeweler of the San Antonio Spurs and of the University of Texas at San Antonio Athletics. See America's Diamond first, 561-1000.
What is up, San Antonio? This is the Fantasy Gods here live on ESPN San Antonio. We are talking all things fantasy football. The church is open. The barbacoa is hot. The Big Red is flowing. My name is Brandon Medina. That is Michael Jimenez. You can follow us on Twitter. I am at Big Poppy Brandon M. He is at 210 Fantasy God. Go follow us on Twitter. Let us know your fantasy questions. And hey, you want to get on the show? You want to share your knowledge of fantasy football or maybe ask a question or two? Call us on the Kielbasa Bacon phone lines, 210-656-ESPN. Once again, that's 210-656-3776. Now, Michael, we just talked about Blessed He Who Starts, our favorite starts of the week. Now we go on the other side of the tracks, if you will. We're going to talk about Thou Shall Bench.
Thou shall bench.
Now, this is sponsored by the RDK Advisors, and let's talk a little bit about Thou Shall Bench and who are number one players that we think should be benched on rosters this week specifically, or maybe not even benched. Maybe, Michael, we're just not as high as the consensus, and maybe we're a little nervous about their play this week. Anybody that sticks out of mind for you?
I'm going to throw out a name that you're not going to like to hear.
Let me hear
Cam Newton. Not a believer yet, man. I am not a believer yet in Cam Newton. He had a great week one. You know, he was a little bit his old self running around. But no, I mean, this week at Seattle, it's not going to happen, dude. I mean, he might go off for 250 and a score. You know, he's going to be an average quarterback this week. So I'll look at him further down the road, but he has to prove it to me a little bit more. And oh my God, bad things are going to happen to Carson Wentz this week against the Rams. Carson Wentz is going to be attacked. He is going to be on his back this game. So, yeah, if you have Carson Wentz and are trying to debate it, get him out of your lineup.
Yeah, I agree. I, too, am benching Carson Wentz. I'm also benching at the quarterback position Tyrod Taylor, Daniel Jones, any of these guys. I think they're still not going to be worthy options for streaming this week. However, one big name that I'm having to bite the bullet on, and it is hurting me, is DJ Moore. I truly believe this week is not going to be a very good week for DJ Moore. You look in the past, these corners and this secondary for Tampa Bay is very much slept on. The defense in general for Tampa Bay is slept on. But Michael Thomas, before the injury, was held to what, 3 catches off of like 10 targets. I really think the secondary is no joke. DJ Moore has struggled against Tampa Bay in the past. DJ Moore struggled last week. Just, find a different person to go to. I know for me, I'm starting people opposite of DJ Moore. If you're looking for like a Robbie Anderson, maybe that's a better play. But I think DJ Moore this week should definitely be a no-go. Any running backs, Mike, that are sticking out to you that maybe you're nervous about?
Yeah, I'm nervous about what's going on in Pittsburgh right now. James Conner, Benny Snell, which one is it going to be? We started the season believing that this was going to be the return of James Conner from 2 years ago, one of the best running backs in the league, one of the best fantasy plays in the league. Last year got hurt. He's coming back now, gets dinged up in week 1. Those types of injuries, those lingering injuries really annoy me. But now they're saying he's going to play. So if he's going to play, who's going to get the touches? Is it going to be him or Snell? Snell played well enough to be on the field. He played well enough to get touches. So at this point right now, if it's on the Pittsburgh backfield, not playing them.
Okay, fair enough. Also, the backfield I'm staying away from that I've been saying this since before week 1 and at week 1 is Tampa Bay. We still do not know who's going to be the main guy there. Ronald Jones looked great. However, I cannot fully trust Ronald Jones is going to be the guy moving forward. You still have Leonard Fournette. You have LaShawn McCoy. There's too many names in there that I do not want to be an owner of. So for me, the Tampa Bay backfield, somebody I'm staying away from any of those guys. And then when you go to wide receivers, like I said, DJ Moore, somebody I'm nervous about. Another person maybe I'm not nervous about, but I am weary about is DJ Chark. I think you looked last week, only had 3 targets and he caught all 3 of them. He didn't get targeted as much. However, the game script was a little bit different. I think Gardner Minshew is going to be looking at him more, but I'm still nervous about DJ Chark. It was very touchdown dependent last week. So definitely somebody to be weary about. If you need to start him, no problem. But I definitely think if you can find a better option, go ahead and find one.
What I do Monday through Friday is I sell investments, right? And we always talk about never chase a return, right? So if something went up, chances are it's not going to be up the next time you go get it, right? And I'm taking a look at the top PPR performers from wide receivers last week. Numbers 53 through 60 contain the names Devontae Parker, Michael Gallup, Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen, right? And we take a look at who was in the top 20, top 25, Sammy Watkins, Russell Gage, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I'm sorry, man, but those players that I'm talking about there, like Scantling and Gage and Watkins, they're not going to be top 20, top 30 receivers at the end of the year. It is fool's gold to go after those players. Stick to your marquee receivers that you drafted because it's all going to revert to the mean. It's all going to average out well for you. Just trust your gut that you had 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think some players that I'm really not looking forward to at all playing in my lineups are Jerry Jeudy. Last week he had some targets. This week, Cortland Sutton's back in. I think Pittsburgh's a better defense. They're not going to have their way there as much, especially for Jerry Jeudy. I'm sorry. And so I think he's somebody I'm not looking to have in my lineup. I think Devontae Parker still has injuries lingering. I think, if you can find somebody to complement him, maybe you have Preston Williams. Okay, he might be an okay play this week, but I do think Devontae Parker should not be in your lineups. And then also somebody I'm very nervous about playing myself is, a Mike Williams. He had a lot of targets from Tyrod Taylor, looked like Tyrod Taylor's favorite, but this Kansas City defense is no joke either. And so I think Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, those are guys that are going to have to probably, stay on the back burner a little bit, find some waiver wire additions instead, because it definitely seems like the Chargers are not going to be much of an offense at all besides their running backs. So definitely makes me nervous on the wide receivers. However, we do have a question about tight ends. We have Israel Lopez asking TJ Hawkinson or Hunter Henry at tight end. Now, Hunter Henry, we're talking about the Chargers. I'm definitely still rolling with my boy TJ Hawkinson. I'm a big fan. Obviously, Green Bay, their defense did not look that great either last week. So I think for Matt Stafford, knowing that Kenny Galladay most likely is out again today, you have Marvin Jones, TJ Hawkinson really raking up all the targets, all the catches. I think TJ Hawkinson's a fair play this week at tight end.
Oh, I agree, especially if Green Bay turns Detroit into a one-dimensional offense where they're going to, if Green Bay gets up to a big lead, Detroit needs to catch up. They're going to be abandoning the run, going towards the pass. So, no, agreed. Hawkinson would be the play on that one.
Absolutely. Another question we got about flex. We just talked about Keenan Allen. We have James Robinson or Keenan Allen for my flex 12 team standard. That is James Robinson 120%, especially in a standard league. I think James Robinson's going to be the best bet for that.
Why do you say so?
I mean, last week he had 16 carries, about 64 yards, 65 yards. I think he's going to get most of the carries for Jacksonville. Keenan Allen, I think, will struggle against Kansas City. To me, right now, Keenan Allen is touchdown dependent. I don't know that he's going to be able to rack up all the receptions and receiving yards we want. I hope he can. But for me personally, if I'm looking at that exact situation in a standard league, not PPR,
right,
James Robinson is my pick.
And that right there is the genius. And that's why you're a fantasy god there, Brandon, is that you understand, and this is to those who are listening, understand a standard league versus a PPR league. Okay, Keenan Allen is your play if it's a PPR league.
100%.
But it's not. It's not. I'd rather get the running back getting 15 to 20 carries.
Yep, exactly. And then also we got a question about your boy Shenault. We have Shenault or Parker and also Shenault or Perryman. So with those two, that's nerve-wracking. So
yeah,
I this can go two ways. Both are very much touchdown independent, I'm pretty sure. I mean, both if they don't score a touchdown, most likely they're not going to be super, super great. Now, let me start with you, because that's your boy Shenault. So what do you think about him? Are you all in with him?
I'm not all in now. I want him on my team. I'm going to monitor on the waiver wire for those leagues that don't have him drafted already. What I look at with him is he's going to be a really good pickup weeks 4, 5, 6. So get him now, hold on to him, stash him for that flex play later on. Those two situations you talked about there, Shenault would not be the play, but it's one of those things where I want him on my team. Okay, just because I'm saying don't play him week 2 doesn't mean that you don't want him, because I think his upside is greater than Parker. It's greater than a lot of other tier 3 receivers.
Yeah, and I think Crowder is questionable or out for this game as well. Yeah, he's out for this game. So Perryman is going to be the play for me. Again, he only had 3 receptions for 17 yards last week. That's it, right? Laviska Shenault only had 3 receptions for 37 yards. The only difference, Shenault had a touchdown. It becomes fantasy relevant. These guys are going to be definitely touchdown dependent, but I think Perryman is definitely your go-to for anything of a flex spot and a PPR spot. We also have another question about Nyheim Hines or David Johnson PPR. Now that is a good one. That's a solid one. I really like this one. So I have David Johnson and Nyheim Hines in PPR. As a matter of fact, funny story, last week, what an absolute dumbass I felt like, because in our listener league, I dropped Nyheim Hines for Tyrod Taylor.
That's stupid.
Last week, we talked about Tyrod Taylor might be a solid play. I said, you know what? I think he might. I rode with Aaron Rodgers regardless, so I still had a great quarterback, but I was able to get Nyheim Hines back. However, I have Nyheim Hines. I have David Johnson. For me, David Johnson's the play, especially with no Duke Johnson. I think he's going to be able to really make a difference, and he looks great last week. He looked really, really good. So David Johnson is definitely my guy for PPR leagues this week, just because of the sheer volume.
No, I'm going to completely disagree with you on that one, my man. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And the reason is because, I understand where you're going there, because it was going to be the no more tears Johnson & Johnson backfield for the Texans. With the injury, I understand what you're saying. Okay, he's going to be the workhorse. He's going to get most of the touches. I get that. But against Baltimore, they start getting behind and become one-dimensional. He's going to be, for the most part, irrelevant out there. I think Hines has an easier play. He had like 8 or 9 catches last week. If it's a PPR, if it's a full PPR league, then Hines is definitely the play. If it's a half one, you can flip a coin.
And that's the thing. I have them in a half PPR. I think David Johnson's the better play there.
Right.
Full PPR, I agree. I think you can flip a coin, Nyheim Hines, with basically any second-tier running back. So that's that. Last question before the break. We have Miles Sanders or Kenyon Drake PPR.
Wow, that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, what a great problem to have. Goodness gracious. This is a tough one. This is probably the hardest question we've gotten today.
I'm going to say Miles Sanders. Okay. Drake, 16 carries last week off the top of my head, 16 carries. It's a very well-diversified offense. They pass it around. They run it around. I think Miles is the better play here because they describe him this week as being 100% healthy. 100% healthy. And we saw what he was the second half of the season last year. So this wouldn't have been an argument or a debate last year. So why are we debating this now? I think Miles is the better play.
I'm going to agree only for the fact that Chase Edmonds is still a part of that offense over there in Arizona. And I think Kenyon Drake's going to be incredible. Again, the best problems to have are two great players. I think Miles Sanders, you can roll with him, especially against that defense. So with that, let's take a break here. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about passing the collection plate, your waiver wire additions for this week and next week. Obviously, we are 30 minutes away from game time. And also, we're going to say a little prayer for a couple of our favorites, guys, moving into week 2. So keep it locked, 94.5 FM, 1250 AM, and on the go at ESPNSA.com.
Cover 3 at Stone Oak in San Antonio is the place to be, whether you're looking to gather coworkers for lunch, dine with friends, or treat your sweetie to a fabulous dinner. This elegant restaurant offers ample seating with comfortable leather booths, tall cocktail tables, along with full-service dining at the bar, or you can enjoy a fun time out on the patio. So come to Cover 3 and experience dining, spirits, and sports.
Cover 3, 1806 North 1604 West, 210-479-9700.
My mom and dad started Alma Water Softeners back in 2009. I'm Trevor Townsend of Alma Water Softeners, and Dad taught me the importance of dependability, honesty, and hard work. And as we carry on his legacy, I know he would be proud of the reviews and compliments from Alma Water Softeners' satisfied customers. Go check out what our customers are saying on Yelp, Google, Nextdoor, Home Advisor, even Angie's List, and see what true Alma Water Softeners customers are saying. I'm Trevor Townsend with Alma Water Softeners. Call us anytime, 210-274-6122, or check us out on the web at alamawatersofteners.com.
Nobody gives back like Diamonds Direct. That's right, it's back. Our most popular offer, 5 years, 0 interest financing. September is the time to buy at Diamonds Direct. Get the best price. Plus, spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest. And every purchase made in September will benefit No Kid Hungry's mission to end childhood hunger right here in our community. Buy now. Spread your payments over 5 years. And give at Diamonds Direct on approved credit. Visit diamondsdirect.com for details.
San Antonio has 2 Hop Dottie locations. Hi, I'm Steve Foster, one at the Rim and the new location at the Vineyard, 1301 North Loop 1604 West, and the initial San Antonio location at 17623 La Cantera Parkway, Suite 101 at the Rim. Different and delicious burgers, but fresh and all-natural ingredients. Hop Dottie also has handcrafted milkshakes and hand-cut Kennebuck fries. So get to a Hop Dottie in San Antonio. When burger is life, life is awesome.
Let's be real. Mopping is a hassle. You have to fill the bucket, pushing a wet, heavy mop around, then cleaning the mop when you're done so it doesn't grow bacteria. A hassle on top of a hassle. Try Swiffer WetJet. With Swiffer WetJet, you start with a fresh pad and cleaning solution every time. And when you're done, you just toss the pad. Swiffer WetJet, the faster, easier, cleaner way to clean your floors.
Looking for the latest on the WWE and wrestling news? Well, we've got just the thing for you.
But The Rock is cooking.
Down for the Count with Brandon Medina and Dan Ciolana. Every week, breaking down the latest from SmackDown, Raw, the big events such as WrestleMania, and everything in between. Down for the Count. Every week in the ESPN San Antonio Audio Vault at ESPNSA.com.
Welcome back. The church is open. Welcome one. Welcome all. Can I get an amen, Dan Ciolana?
Amen, brother.
That's what I'm talking about, my man. Welcome to the church. This is the Fantasy Gods. Our boy Dan Ciolana's over there working the ones and twos for us. Big thank you to him. Big thank you to you for listening. We are talking all things fantasy football. My name is Brandon Medina. That is Michael Jimenez. And we are talking a couple of good segments that we'd love to get into every week. We talk about a segment called Say a Little Prayer for. Now, that can be for people we're taking a chance on, or it could be, hey, you're starting them and we don't know if it might not work out. Very much a toss of a coin. So with that, let's get into Say a Little Prayer.
It's time for the fantasy gods to say a little prayer.
Now, with that, who are you praying for today, Michael Jimenez, that they can just absolutely be fantasy relevant for your team?
I'm going to say a prayer right now for Devin Singletary. He has gone from being a running back to now a questionable flex play. But I'm taking a look at it. He touched the ball 14 times last week. 14 times. I was hoping to get him for 18 to 20, but man, I'm saying a prayer for him. I would roll the dice on him as a flex for one more week, but if he doesn't touch the ball more than 14 times this week, you got to yank him out.
Amen, brother.
That's what I'm talking about. And I think for me, I am going to say a little prayer for Chris Carson. Do not be deceived, people. Do not be deceived. A huge fantasy week last week, 24.6 points. Brandon, what are you talking about? He played great. No, he had 6 receptions for 45 yards and 2 touchdowns, only 6 attempts rushing. This guy did not get many rushing yards. He did not get many rushing attempts. I'm nervous. We thought Carlos Hyde was not going to make a difference in this. Clearly, they're looking at multiple running back by committees, or even riding with the hot hand. I love Chris Carson in PPR still, but in a standard league or overall fantasy play, definitely saying a little prayer for my buddy Chris Carson.
And Brandon, here's the thing, man. Who's the fantasy player I hate the most? The fantasy player I hate the most. This is the opposite of saying a prayer. This guy's going to crash and burn. Sammy Watkins is the fantasy player I have hated the most the last 3 or 4 years. Last year, put up over 190 yards and 3 touchdowns. Looked incredible. Everybody picked him up on the waiver wire, and he was awful the rest of the way. And guess what he did last week? Incredible first week, top 20 receiver. People are picking him up, and oh my God, Sammy Watkins. Remember Sammy Watkins? Oh, give me a break, man. That guy is trash. He is awful fantasy player. He blows up one time a year. It's always week 1, and then that's it.
Absolutely. If there's somebody you want to say a prayer for in fantasy football, or ask for our advice on your start-sit questions, call the Kia Bossa Bacon phone lines, 210-656-ESPN, 210-656-3776. Now we have a question from Sarah Riley. That's a really good one. You got half PPR system. Who are you starting in your flex? Robert Woods, Nyheim Hines, Deontay Johnson, Emmanuel Sanders. Again,
good problem to have.
Great problem to have. Sarah, I don't know who's in your league, but you're dominating this league. I'm letting you know that right now. You're very, very well off in this league. I'm going to stay with Robert Woods. Had a great week last week. I think it's going to continue this week. Jared Goff looks to probably make him the number 1 target overall. Cooper Kupp was not much of an option last week. He'll still be involved. However, Robert Woods to me is the play for that specific question.
She mentions Deontay Johnson. Man, that was going to be my second say a little prayer for, because I think, he had a really good week last week. It was a serviceable week. He's going to be a good player. Roethlisberger likes to throw it out. I'm not going to pick him yet. Okay, I would say that out of all this, Emmanuel Sanders would be my play. And it'd be a questionable play. So I apologize for being kind of wishy-washy on it. But the fact of the matter is that Woods had a really good game last week against the Cowboys. But right now, just this week, I think Emmanuel Sanders is your play. No Michael Thomas. He's the number 1 receiver, the most talented receiver for the Saints this year. They like to throw the ball. I would say Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah, I know for me, what I faced in our listener league, which me and Michael absolutely got wrecked last week. However, we're coming back with the win this week. We're looking for a win. I know I faced Deontay Johnson and Nyheim Hines in my personal lineup. I'll tell you what, right now, as we were talking, I had Deontay Johnson in my lineup. It's a half.
Did she say it was a full
PPR.
point?
No, half PPR.
Okay, then Sanders.
Sanders? Okay.
Yeah.
See, so half point PPR, I'm asking you the question. Help me out, buddy. You're the other fantasy god here. Nyheim Hines or Deontay Johnson in a half PPR. Deontay Johnson had 10 targets last week.
He did have 10 targets, but I would still say Hines.
Okay, that's what I'm rolling with. That's
because
what I'm
he gets
about.
in the end zone.
Fair enough. Now, before we get out of here for our last segment, let's talk a little bit about passing the collection plate.
Pass the collection plate.
Now, this is our waiver wire and moves segment right here. It's going to go a little bit quick. Name me 2 players, maybe 3 that you're looking at to add from the waiver wire that you're really excited for the coming weeks.
For the coming weeks, well, we just mentioned one, Deontay Johnson. So it's just kind of funny that she asked that question because I had him circled here on my list of players that I want to pick up for the rest of the season. So I'm going to go ahead and say him. I think we're going to have a breakout week this week with CeeDee Lamb. I think CeeDee Lamb is going to put up 85 yards and a touchdown this week. He might not be on every waiver wire out there, but if he is, I would pick him up. Like I said, I'm on record for saying this Cowboys game is going to go 70 points. It's going to go 650 yards in the air by both quarterbacks. I'm going to go ahead and say CeeDee Lamb has a breakout game this week.
Fair enough. I'm going to say Anthony Miller for Chicago is somebody you should be looking at. He's the clear number 2, and then another name that not many people have on the radar, but I have favored and watched for a little bit, and I already have them on my watch list. Not picking them up just yet. Got to see what week 2 brings, but Myles Gaskin for Miami. I think he's a solid running back that got a good amount of touches, out-touched both Matt Breida and Jordan Howard, so I think Myles Gaskin is someone you can look at, especially when it comes to PPR or standard leagues.
And, hey, I'm going to throw out a name that you're going to be interested in. Alexander Madison. If he is on the waiver wire, especially if you have Dalvin Cook as one of your running backs, you need to get him because the guy shows that he can play. He could get the ball into the end zone. He's getting the ball into the end zone, and he's not even starting. Imagine if Cook went down. That guy would suddenly become a top 10 running back. And that's the interesting thing about fantasy football as we're looking to the waiver wire right now. If you have a stud player who has a potential stud backup, pick that guy up. If you have Zeke Elliott, get Pollard. If you have Dalvin Cook, get Madison. You might want to back up your stud running back with a stud backup.
I completely agree. And with that, when we come back, we're going to be talking about daily fantasy play. Win you some money, our favorite bets of the week, some parlays we're looking at, and all the NFL spreads. So keep it locked. This is the Fantasy Gods on ESPN San Antonio, 94.5 FM, 1250 AM, and on the go at ESPNSA.com.
The Fantasy Gods is sponsored by RDK Advisors. Are you a business owner worried about losing key employees? Stop the revolving door. Let RDK Advisors create an executive bonus plan to attract and maintain your key employees. Call 210-508-0369 or visit rdkadvisors.com.
Texas Spine Care Center and Dr. Adam Brueggemann are committed to treating chronic back pain and helping patients understand and make informed decisions about orthopedic treatment. They focus on using the latest techniques, medicines, and practices to give their patients the best treatment options to manage and overcome pain. Texas Spine Care Center is committed to helping San Antonio find the best choices that will give you your life back. So call 210-941-1785 or go to texasspinecarecenter.com. 210-941-1785.
Do your dishes come out of the dishwasher with spots all over them? That is the rock in your water sticking to the dishes. Not something you want to eat or drink, is it? Call 210-274-6122. That is Alamo Water Softeners, a great locally owned, family-run business. The Townsends are from here. They started the company here, and they've been changing the San Antonio water treatment industry one happy customer at a time. Remember the Alamo Water Softeners, 210-274-6122 or alamowatersofteners.com.
It's practical, it's smart, and it's so easy. It's Diamonds Direct's most amazing offer ever. Right now, for a limited time on any purchase, the best price, pay nothing down, and get 5 years, zero interest financing. If you've been eyeballing that $5,000 designer ring, right now it's only $85 a month. Those $3,000 diamond studs, just $50 a month, and they're yours. Everything's affordable. Don't miss the special limited time financing event on approved credit. 5 years, zero interest. Only at Diamonds Direct.
At the shops at La Cantera.
It's time to make you some money. Let's get into our daily fantasy and our NFL spreads. Pick 'em of the week. This is all sponsored by RDK Advisors. This is the Fantasy Gods on ESPN San Antonio. We gave you our fantasy football picks. Before we get into everything, though, we do have one more question on our Facebook Live, and that's from Anthony Jackson. Emmanuel Sanders or CeeDee Lamb? Ooh, now this is Michael Jimenez's favorite type of question right here. What are we looking at? What are we looking at here? What do you think? Again, though, we don't even know. Is this PPR, half PPR? I have no idea.
Right.
Let's just play half PPR just to be safe.
Okay,
Emmanuel
somewhere
Sanders,
in the middle.
CeeDee Lamb. What do you like?
I like CD.
Get
I
out
like
of
CD
here.
Lamb. Big
Get
time on
out of
this one.
here. Are you a Cowboys fan? I thought you were a Saints fan. What's going on
Oh,
here?
I'm a Saints fan, and I hate the Cowboys with a passion. But the fact of the matter is, CeeDee Lamb is a stud. Dak Prescott likes to sling it. They need to win this game. They need to win this game.
So, Anthony, let us know. It is full PPR. Does that change your mind?
No, I would still go with CD because I picture CeeDee Lamb with about 7 catches today.
Anthony, unfortunately, it happens to one listener every week. This is the split of the week. I am Emmanuel Sanders, so not much help. I think Emmanuel Sanders is the clear-cut number one over there. I think he's going to get a crazy amount of volume. He looks really good against a very good Tampa Bay secondary. I think Emmanuel Sanders is easily the pick for me. However, Michael Jimenez gave you CeeDee Lamb. Toss a coin. Let us know what you pick. We also have Omar Navarro. He said PPR, Hayden Hurst or Hawkinson. Who do you think on that?
Because of injuries with Detroit, I don't really trust the quarterbacks in the other situation. I would go with Hawkinson in this one.
I agree. And finally, Alec Harrell asks, start Gronk, OJ Howard, or go. Whoa, I am tripping. Goddard from Philly. With that, I think Goddard's absolutely the play. I don't think OJ Howard or Gronk is going to get nearly the volume, nor do I trust them as much as Goddard.
And it's amazing because Philadelphia, people look at Goddard and go, well, they have Zach Ertz. They play a 2 tight end set pretty much every play. Goddard, even though he's quote-unquote their second tight end, is probably going to be a top 7 tight end player for the year.
I have him in a lot of leagues now.
I do too. He's great. He's great. He gets a lot of targets. So out of those 3, that's an easy one. That's Goddard.
As a matter of fact, Alec, I truly believe Goddard might actually overtake Ertz when it comes to fantasy production. So definitely keep him in your lineups. But now let's talk about making you all some money. Let's talk about the NFL spreads and lines. Any of these NFL spreads looking good for you, Michael Jimenez, that you're looking to take a bet on? Let's talk single bets, and then we'll talk parlays.
Okay, so single bets, I love the over in the Cowboys-Falcons game. It is creeping up. It was 51.5 earlier this week. It's at 53.5 now. I would still take it. I see this as a 41-31 type of game. So I love the over in that game. I like Seattle -4 home against the Patriots. Again, I'm not a big believer in Cam Newton yet. That's still a new offense being formulated over there. Seattle, they brought back so many different players. They're a good team. They're home. Take Seattle. And I like Green Bay -6.5 home against Detroit.
Okay, fair enough. I know for me, looking at the lines, I do like the Saints. I think their line's pretty solid. I know I had to buy some points, so I had the Saints at -5 over the Vegas Raiders. Obviously, the Chiefs money line's a killer. For me, I also like the 49ers line against the Jets. I like Green Bay and I like Buffalo, all single bets. If you're looking at money line or the regular spread, I think that's solid as well. Buffalo went up a little bit, I think, on the spread. I think they were at -5, and I think they're at -6 now. So I definitely think Buffalo Bills will still be able to cover that. But I know this is a great week to do some parlays. I think this week's going to be really, really good when it comes to parlay betting. If you're a degenerate like me and Michael. Now with that, any parlays that you're looking at specifically, Michael, for yourself?
Now, whenever you say a parlay, typically we think of 3, 4, 5-team parlays, right?
Right.
I'm looking at a 2-team parlay. And what's so exciting about a 2-team parlay is that this is a money line parlay picking the underdog. So I think a 2-team parlay of the Buffalo Bills and the New York Giants, both of them 5 to 5.5 point underdogs, you're probably getting plus 180 to plus 200 on them, right? So you look at that, a $20 bet will probably get you about $180 in return. That's the math off the top of my head, but that's what I'd be looking at right there. The Giants and the Bills.
Yeah, I think for me, mine includes one underdog. That's not going to be very much of a surprise. But for me, I like the Cowboys money line. It's at 155 on Bovada. And then also the Minnesota Vikings at plus 145 against the Colts. I think the Vikings last week did not look that great, but I don't expect Phillip Rivers to be Aaron Rodgers either. So I think for me, I like the Vikings in this game. At the very least to cover, I think the line on Bovada is by 3. If they can cover by 3, I think that's perfectly fine. I don't see the Colts absolutely wiping the Minnesota Vikings. So that's who I'm going to go with for my parlays. Loved your parlays. Let's talk a little bit of daily fantasy before we get out of here. But before we do, we have 2 more questions, and then we got to cut it because we got to get daily fantasy. But we have Anthony Jackson asking PPR, Gurley, or Hines. That's a great question. I think full PPR, I think I'm rolling with Nyheim Hines.
Wow. This is probably the best question we've had today.
I do like Gurley against Dallas, though, too. I think
I'm going to go Gurley on this one.
I think it's a flip. I think it's a flip of the coin.
It's a flip. I think good problem to have.
Yeah, I think either or you're safe, Anthony. And then last but not least, Alec asked Robert Woods, Metcalf, Amari Cooper, start 2 non-PPR. I think Amari, Robert Woods.
I would say Amari and Metcalf.
Okay, there we go. So let's talk about daily fantasy. All of our daily fantasy advice is going through DraftKings. So just whenever we mention how much a player is, what games we're in, stuff like that. As you know from last week, I am all about playing tournaments. My buddy Michael Jimenez is more head-to-head. I like the double-ups in tournaments. Who are you taking in your daily fantasy lineups, Mike?
Well, probably, I look at it, I'd rather be top-heavy than anything else when it comes to it. I am going with Matt Ryan, Zeke Elliott, Nyheim Hines, Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, Brandon Ayuk, O.J. Howard. My flex is C.D. Lamb, and I'm going with the Broncos defense. Here's the thing. Ayuk is a complete flyer because we don't know what we're going to get from him. But the guy was a stud over the summer. He is considered to be possibly the wide receiver 1 over there at San Francisco. So I'm going to put him in there, and I just think Matt Ryan's going to light it up. Doesn't mean that the Falcons are going to win, but I just think he's going to light it up.
Fair enough. For me, I got Kyler Murray, Zeke Elliott, Miles Sanders, Paris Campbell, Julio Jones. You have Adam Thielen. I have Chris Herndon, who I think is probably the best value at only $3,400. And then Scotty Miller, who's going to fill in for Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin is out. He's only at $4,100. If you're looking for a fill-in at wide receiver, maybe you could bulk up your quarterback or running back. Those are who I'd be targeting.
Yeah, I got Ayuk for $4,200.
Wow, very nice. So that's our daily fantasy talk. I think that's going to be solid. I think you can make a lot of money. There's a lot of good contests as well. Anybody else before we stop, looking at daily fantasy, anybody else that you're targeting personally that maybe you think could be a value?
A value. I think O.J. Howard, when it comes to tight ends, is a pretty good value. He might be in the 4,000 range. When it comes to quarterbacks, probably the biggest value right now is Ben Roethlisberger.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I also like Gardner Minshew as well. I know we joke about it, but I like him against Tennessee. I definitely think he can move the ball there as well. So with that, especially if they're playing under, which I think they will, I think they're going to be throwing the ball a lot in the 3rd and 4th. So that's our daily fantasy pick'ems. Definitely make sure to get your lineups in. We are only 7 minutes away from kickoff. It's going to be big, man. For your fantasy football lineups on PPR, non-PPR, half PPR, we hope we can provide the best coverage of it and make sure that we can get you guys all caught up and up to date. Any last-minute thoughts, last-minute picks that you should be letting people know to get in their lineups now, Mike?
My last-minute thought is this. 0-1 is not the worst thing in the world. Okay? Going 0-2 is not the worst thing in the world. Right now, I would say look at your lineup, look at your players, and start your best players. This is not the time of the season to be looking at it going, yeah, well, this defense was really bad last week, so I'm going to go ahead and start this team player. No. If you had a stud that you drafted, start him now. I'm in a league, Brandon, where somebody drafted Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
Chubb went 10 carries for 60 yards and was out, and Kareem Hunt had more touches than him in week 1. And Chubb got benched this week. It was amazing. I was looking at it going,
wow,
why did he get benched? And we're looking at that with quarterbacks where it's like, should I start Deshaun Watson or not? What do you mean? He was the 3rd quarterback off the board. Of course you start him. Of course you start him. Unless you start seeing patterns. And I'll leave it with this. The one last pattern that I'm looking at right now, Patrick Mahomes, man. If Clyde Edwards-Helaire is suddenly going for 130, 140, 150 a week, and Patrick Mahomes is only going to have 3,500 to 4,200 yards passing, and he becomes still the best quarterback in the NFL, but he becomes just, a top 10 quarterback, flip him after 3 weeks, man. He has the name. People would want to have him on their team. Flip him. Try to get a better running back. That's my recommendation for you.
I agree. I think for me, I have 3 little tidbits before we go. One is, like Michael said, do not freak out. Do not overreact. This is week 1. Week 3, week 4, you're seeing the same thing. Then maybe you can start making changes to your lineups. For me, the big guy that has screwed me over and over, the guy that has just ruined my team sometimes, but I still love him. I still trust him. Please, just give AJ Green some time. 13 targets. I had to deal with it this week. I'm most likely going to lose my matchup because of it. But listen, 13 targets is nothing to be ashamed of. And finally, go hit low for somebody like Joe Mixon. Go hit low for those running backs that did not perform. Get them on your roster. And with that, thank you guys for joining us. This is the Fantasy Gods. This is ESPN San Antonio. Go follow us at Big Poppy Brandon M, at 210 Fantasy God. We always have a good time on the show. We hope you do too. As always, we are sponsored by the RDK Advisors. Michael Jimenez, Brandon Medina, saying goodbye. And as always, Michael, how do we leave them?
May the Fantasy Gods be with you.
See you.
Moonshine Patio Bar